Hello everyone and welcome to this new video tutorial about the Avonni Dynamic Component, and today I will dive into one of the features we have in the Dynamic Components application. It's the onload interaction feature. So I will show you how this works with this specific use case. So here I am on a record page and I build this contact related list. This is not a standard related list. This is an Avonni dynamic component I place into this Lightning page. And on this component, I use a card, and within the card, I use a data table to display related information regarding contacts based on this account. And here, what I did, I placed this edit button next to each row. So what I'd like to do is making this edit button functional. Right now, it's not functional. And what I'd like to do is really being able to open another dynamic component as a panel when users are pressing this edit button. But to make this happen, I will need to pass the input variable of the selected row directly to the other component I am opening as a panel. So this is exactly what I'm showing you today, how to build another dynamic component and how to use the onload interaction to pre-populate data before the components load, because that's really the goal of the onload interaction. Let's dive in. So here I will just open the Avonni Components application from the app launcher, and from there I will open my existing Avonni Dynamic Component. So you can see exactly the same. This is how I built it, and this is also how I can really fine-tune and build this component more. So as I said, I need to set the interaction on the edit, but before creating the interaction here on a row action click, I need first to create the other dynamic component I want to open using this interaction. Let's do it. Let's click on new. Let's say contact panel edit. That's the name of my component. I don't need to set up any target object here. Why? Because I will not place this component into the contact record page, for example. No. So here I can click on create, and now I can start building my component. So before drag and dropping the components I have on the left side, I need to create my variables. Because here, as I said, my use case, it's from the data table, click on the edit button to open this component right there as a panel. So I need to create two variables. I'm going on the resources tab, create a new resource, select the type. The first one would be a variable that will store the contact ID that is passed through the data table to this component. So data type will be text. It's really important to make this variable available for input. Otherwise, I won't be able to select it from the interaction on the data table. Save. Next, I need to create another variable, but this time it will not be a text type variable, it will be a record variable to be able to access to all the records information, so I will be able to add those information into my component. So let's say a contact record, data type record, and let's select the object contact. I don't need to set any available for input or output. I don't need that. Save. So now I can start building my component, and why not by dragging a profile card. Okay, so here I have my attributes of the card, title, subtitle. So instead of typing manually the value, I will map that value to the existing value coming from the contact records variable I created just before to display full name. I will do the same for the title. Let's say I'd like to display the title coming from the contact record. So select as object, contact record, and select the title field. That's it. Okay, that's for the profile card header. Now, here I can access the fields information. Because I created the records variable, I will select the contact records variable, and now here, from there, I have access to all the fields information from the contact object, which is pretty handy. So here I can just simply drag and drop the fields I like to display on this component, like being able to edit the full name, the department, why not about the email address, and why not about also the title. What I like the most here, it's, yes, I can drag and drop fields, but I also have access to all the components from the Avonni Dynamic Components to fine-tune the layout of this. So let's say, for example, I'd like to drag a column layout, and I have like a two column. That's something possible, and inside each column, I can start dragging by dragging more fields. So here, let's say I like to add the birth date, and why not adding some related fields information from another object, which is a parent object, account ID, and I want also to be able to edit the parent account ID information, like why not editing the industry? Okay, so here we can fine tune the look and feel column, play with the spacing to add some space. Awesome. Perfect. One last thing now. Let's drag the button group element right there, and let's create our button group element. So let's say, and the second one would be save, variant, brand, save, and we can display the button group as row to have something like this, which is more nice. So now what I need to do next, it's really from the button to create the interaction, to make sure the information will be saved on Salesforce. So here I will go on interaction, on click, select, save, and here I will select one of the interactions available from records variable operation. Here, for my use case, obviously I need not to create records because it would be displaying existing records, but I need to update records. Update records from the contact records variable, save. That's it. Done. Oh, so it's almost done, but it's not done yet for the card, for the profile card. So for the dynamic component, I want to open as a panel because right now I'm displaying contact records name, contact records email, but I need to make sure the information will be loaded at first when the component load. And this is exactly when, the onload interaction comes into play, because when you need to access records information before a dynamic component is displaying, this is the way to do that. And one of the common use case is this one, where you like to open another dynamic component and being able to preload data from an input variable. So here on this interaction button, we have the onload interaction. And here from there, you can create your onload interaction. Again, it's really to preload specific data before this dynamic component gets loaded. So you have biometric, if you like to use it on mobile and being able to make sure users get identified by Face ID or by fingertips. And also you can execute another launch flow, or also you can get records. That's the one I was using. I want to get records from the records variable contact records I created. And what would be the record ID I'd like to use? I will select map, and then the record ID would be this one, the variable contact ID I created first. Save. Let's save the component. Done for this part. Now, all I need to do, I need to get back to my first dynamic component and just create interaction on the data table for my users to be able to edit the contact and open this dynamic component as a panel. So let's open the data table. Let's create the interaction on the edit. Interaction on row action click. Here I will select edit. And this is all the type of interaction you can trigger. Here I want to open another dynamic component as a panel. You can do exactly the same process if you'd like to open information using a flow. That's possible, almost the same process. So open dynamic component panel, and here I will panel edit and make sure to pass the input variable. So basically it's really to pass the row contact row ID from the data table to the other flow I want to display as a panel. So input variable, select the name. That's the name of my input variable available for input I created on the other flow, contact ID. And what's the value I'd like to pass to this input variable? I want to pass the contact ID. And then you can really fine tune the position of the panel, the size, let's make it large. And on close, let's say we'd like to refresh this data table content. Save, and it's done. So now I will activate the component, and let's see how it works live on a page. So I'm live on my record page. Now the dynamic components gets loaded. And here we can click on the edit button. That's opening the other dynamic component as a panel. And as you can see, the corresponding related information is already filled in thanks to the onload interaction I set up with you. So I can change the email address, Cedric, and change the marketing. And let's change, you see the industry, that's coming from the account object. Right now it's banking. Let's make a change. Let's change it to apparel. Save. So it will save the contact information. It will save the information directly from the account object, which is the parent object. And you can see the email address is also getting updated. So that's what I'd like to show you today regarding the onload interaction, and how you can use the onload interaction to pre-feed data based on an input variable to get a records information before the component is loaded. That's very handy, especially for this kind of use cases. Let me know if you have any question, and also if you'd like to give it a try to the Avonni Dynamic Component, you have access to the link to the package on the video description. Thank you so much for watching.